Today we get a new companion. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. The first and most obvious interesting thing about The Rescue is that it features the first appearance of Vicky, the new companion who's there to replace Susan. But there's a couple other interesting things about the story I want to talk about. First of all, this is the first story in the second filming block of Doctor Who. The first filming block ran a colossal 52 straight weeks. And that's why some of the actors got episodes off here and there along the way. And that continues to happen as the series goes forward. But in any case, the first filming block ended at the end of production of Dalek Invasion of Earth. And then it was later decided to hold back Planet of Giants and Dalek Invasion of Earth for a second season. And all of the actors were given 6 weeks off. But beyond that, all of the actors were in negotiation on whether or not they would return. Carol Ann Ford had already decided to leave, so that was a done deal. The problem was the commitment the BBC had for a second season was only 13 episodes, and at that point they already had 9 in the can. So the BBC Controller's Office was wanting to offer 4-week contracts to the leads with a possibility of renewal. And producer Verity Lambert knew that wasn't going to fly. She wanted to offer the leads 13 episodes with a potential of renewal for a further 13. And most of them went for that, except William Hartnell's agent wanted a solid 26-episode commitment. They went round and round for several days, and finally Verity Lambert convinced the BBC to go ahead and extend 26 weeks on the show all around. And so the contracts were written, everybody was back. So the new problem was that the original story editor, David Whittaker, was also leaving, and in fact, he was totally gone at this point, but they needed a new transition story to introduce the new character of Vicky, who went through several names before they landed on that. So David Whittaker was contracted to write a 2-part story to introduce Vicky's character and bring her into the show, and that's not an entirely unusual thing. He was also scripted to write the 2-part episode Edge of Destruction back in the first episode. He's familiar with the pacing. And he came back as the writer for several stories in the show, all the way up to 1970's Ambassadors of Death. But getting back to this particular story, we have Maureen O'Brien coming on board as Vicky, and she's just great in the show. Although, like most of the female characters in this era of the show, she gets kind of the short end of the stick, since most of her character's purpose is to stand around screaming at the Monster of the Week. So I feel bad for her on that front. But even so, she gives a surprisingly nuanced performance as this character, who is a young woman stranded on a strange alien planet with an injured captain in a broken starship waiting for rescue. While I certainly do miss Carol Ann Ford and Susan, Vicky for me is a very welcome arrival on the ship. Although this certainly does begin the churn of characters in the show that will happen quite a bit going forward for the next several years. But there is one other thing I absolutely love about this story. There is a line of dialogue that happens in the second episode from Ian that is just totally brilliant. And it wasn't written in the script, it was an improvisation. And I love it. It is my single most favorite Ian moment in the entire show. You see, the bad guy in this show is named Coquillion, although we eventually find out, spoilers for a 55-year-old story, we eventually find out that Coquillion and the injured spaceship captain are one and the same. It's just the captain putting on a disguise trying to scare Vicky. It's a complicated story beat, don't worry about it. So anyway, the bad guy in this story, Coquillion, is this ugly, bug-faced monster guy that's terrorizing Vicky. And there's a scene with Ian and Barbara reassuring Vicky and telling her that they'll protect her and she'll be fine. And Ian refers to Coquillion as, and I quote, "Old cocky lickin'." That's right, cocky lickin'. Thank you, Ian. Thank you so much. I love you. The amazing thing is that ad-lib stayed in the show and everybody was fine with it. It was 1964, what are you gonna do? So that's all I have for today, and actually that's pretty much all I have for this year. I'm about to get on a plane to travel to the other side of the country and spend the holidays with family back home in Seattle. While I'm there, I won't be doing any treadmilling, I won't be doing any recording. I'm terrified that I'm going to be doing a lot of eating and not nearly enough exercising, but I'll deal with that in the new year. So I will be back in about a week with the Romans. I hope I'll see you there.